Are you a thought leader or expert speaker looking to grow your brand and get booked on more podcasts? In the next few minutes, you'll discover the one tool that can change everything: your speaker sheets. Podcast guesting isn't just about expertise, it's about standing out. What if you could guarantee more bookings without changing a thing about your knowledge? A well crafted speaker sheet can do exactly that. To truly get noticed, you need to present yourself in a way that captures attention and makes booking you an easy decision. Ready to take your personal brand to the next level? If you want to get on podcasts, it's a really super duper good idea for you to have this thing called a speaker sheet. And I'm going to walk you through what they look like, what the pieces are. And as a podcast host who's done over 1,165 episodes on my podcast, and over 100 episodes on two other client podcasts as a host there, I know what I'm looking for when I look at anyone's speaker sheet, and there's not a lot of ways for you to go wrong aside from you not being a good fit for a show. But let's talk about a speaker sheet because I just had a conversation with this really smart guy named Mitko Ivanov from pampoom.com. And he has a podcast booking agency. And he said this about speaker sheets. Like, you've heard about having a bio, right? Like a Facebook bio or a LinkedIn bio, but a speaker sheet's a little bit more than that. It's where you explain your primary topic, the subject you'll speak about, your various talking points, a short biography, including your credentials, and a list of remarkable achievements. And so here's the speaker sheet of one of our favorite clients here. My website is DFY Podcast, and I want to get on your radar personally. If you're the kind of person that's looking into what to have in my speaker sheet or be on my podcast, contact me. My links are in the description under this video. Let's schedule a call. Let's talk about you and your podcast. But anyway, here's one of our clients, and we get him on shows because a really good idea for you is if you don't have your own podcast and you appear on podcasts, create your own podcast for two reasons. Number one, you can use your guest appearances on other shows as your own content. But number two, you build your own platform, and then this will raise your profile and make it easier for you to get on bigger and bigger podcasts, right? Let's say two people apply to be on, just pick your podcast, right? A huge podcast, and one has a following of 1,000 LinkedIn people, and the other has a following of 100,000 LinkedIn followers. Who wins? If they're almost identical and the host is saying, should I have possibility A or guest B? The one that wins is the one with more following. And then when you get on someone's podcast hosts are greedy, right? Every human is. It's about what's in it for me. So why should a podcast host allow you to be on their podcast? Sure, you bring expertise and value and information and helpful ideas and tips and advice, but they can get that from many other people. Many podcast hosts want you on their podcast so that way they can also be on your podcast. They used to call this a link exchange or a joint venture back in the good old days. It just means that you use their audience to further your traffic and your brand and your following and your profile, but they also get that back in return. And then a bonus tip here is I really highly recommend, and I very rarely see this, is whatever your website is, make it so that when I go to your.com/bio, then it should send me over to your bio that I can copy off of a web page. And here's how I like to do mine is I have just my bio, and there's also a PDF version. And so tip number one is have your website.com/bio/about and have it just show your bio. That way it's easy to get, easy for you to grab. If you're applying to a podcast, you can get it. If you're about to record on the show, oh, where's my bio? You can just say, hey, go to this URL and do it. And as a experienced podcast host, I don't need much, right? If I can just open up your LinkedIn and read something like that, I just want to know what our topic is, what makes you unique, what your accomplishments are, what we're going to be promoting. There's not that much involved, but here's basically what it looks like with a name, a bio, topics to discuss, questions I might ask, and then the all-important contact information. We don't need fancy fonts, don't need fancy colors, don't need fancy graphics. And one thing that is missing are photos of the host, or of the guest, but you can get it by going over to their About page as well. And so you see these super fancy, slick PDF speaker sheets, and hosts hate them because it's hard to copy them off. I want to get the text off of there for the blog post, for the social post, and I'm just, I can't get your bio off because it's in a super good looking PDF graphic, but I want the text. So a plain, basic bio and speaker sheet like this is what we want. And what you want is to be on shows. And so there's two kind of heroes of mine. This one guy, he's a smart aleck in a good way, right? This guy, Mark Savant, he speaks about AI, artificial intelligence. And there's two things to notice. Is one is that he's very relevant, right? He's every few days there's something about him. And many times it's on other platforms, other shows, right? 4 weeks ago, 1 month ago, 2 months ago, 2 months ago. And then the other thing to notice is to set your expectations low about the traffic, about the view count, because everyone wants this, right? Everyone wants 5,000 views or more on YouTube. But the reality is many times you might just get 100 or 100. And it's a numbers game where you appear on multiple shows. You do it because you have a speaker sheet. And so I don't have Mark's speaker sheet handy because I noticed him posting and I was so impressed by him. I was like, hey, Mark, can you be on my show? I gave him my schedule link. He submitted his bio. I read it, and the rest is history. And you need to be working in this kind of a fast-paced way, right? If you want to be appearing on podcasts at scale, then don't take so much time on this. If someone says, can you be on my show? Cool, 2-minute reply and back to business. And so someone else that I was really impressed with is this guy, Kevin Surace. And my understanding of Kevin Surace's business model is that he's a keynote speaker. Many people speak for free, but I believe, and don't quote me on this, that Kevin Surace is paid many thousands of dollars to speak. And I also believe that he's a member of 24 different speaker associations, like this AAE Speakers Bureau. And if we kept on scrolling, we can find that he's in many other groups. And they're basically these paid speaker groups, right? You pay money as a speaker to be on in these clubs, and he's in 24 of them. And then when some huge event and there's me in the list as well. When some event wants to have someone speak about artificial intelligence, then he shows up sometimes, right? Because you saw as we scroll through, there's like motivational speakers agency. He has his demo reel, so to speak, on their Facebook channel. When you Google his name, you just keep scrolling. There's podcast appearances galore, sizzle reel, Global Speakers Bureau. So he just gets an email, gets notification. We want to pay you $10,000 to speak at this event. He books his flight and he just goes because he has so much momentum of being in 24 speaker groups. And that's Joe Biden behind him. That's amazing. He's in all these speaker groups and he does podcast appearances and and he uses all those speaking and podcast appearances as content on his own social platforms. And there's just this following, this momentum, and he's in demand because he was previously in demand. And when you Google search of this guy, Kevin Surace, first of all, you search him on LinkedIn, there's all these appearances, right? And then you look on his profile on LinkedIn. And if I had him on my show, which I did, I think he approached me or his booking agency approached me. If I didn't have a speaker sheet, that's still okay. I would just look at what's here right before the call. And I would say, hey, Kevin Surace, he's a generative AI keynote speaker. He's all about business transformation and disruptive innovation. He's built billion-dollar ventures. He's harnessed his expertise as a speaker, consultant, thought leader to help companies navigate the dynamic landscape of AI-driven transformation. So we'll be finding out from Kevin himself about what he's learned delivering TEDx talks and Business Week and Forbes, NBC, Wall Street Journal appearances, what he's done to help GM, OnStar, and Quiet Rock to change the way they do business. He's worked with cutting-edge SaaS platforms, so we're going to find out the secrets of generative AI and what we need to know about the scary future moving forward. Let's talk to Kevin. That's how we would introduce him if we didn't have a speaker sheet or a bio. But you search for Kevin, and these events that want these speakers that really know their stuff, right? They have $1 million events. They've got thousands of attendees who are each paying thousands of dollars, and they want to pay Kevin to be one of their speakers. So they Google him, and they end up on some of these like speaker bureau websites where this is more or less a speaker sheet. Here's a quick 2-sentence bio of him. Here's a longer bio. Here's some talking points. Here's some keywords. Here's even longer bio. Here's some clips of him. There's contact information somewhere. It looks like even his mentions in the media. So you can get as crazy as you want with this, but basically it comes back down to this formula: topic, talking points, bio, achievements, which we express in this way, right? Headline, bio, topics to discuss, questions we might ask, and website links. And in a moment, we will create some real live speaker sheets for some real live people using what we discover about them. But real quick, before we close that out and get to that, this guy I mentioned, Mitko Ivanov, who runs the podcast booking agency, he sends me an email every few months saying, hey, let's have this guest on, let's have that guest on. And one of the very first guests was this guy, Joe Valley, an exitpreneur who facilitated nearly $500 million in exits. And I'm just showing you this template in the wild again and again. That way you see the structure on repeat and you can begin to subconsciously think about how you will apply your own. Maybe you already have a loose bio, maybe even on LinkedIn, right? You already have things that are known about you that we can morph into this thing called the speaker sheet. So basically, this is from a few years ago, but Joe Valley has a book. He's all about selling Amazon FBA businesses. And then here's some examples, here's some questions, and then here's his speaker sheet. As I said, I personally don't like the super graphic-y ones, but at least I can select the text off of it. And so this is looks a little different, but it's still a similar format, right? Here's a little bit of a short bio, here's the topics, here's some questions, and then if you have it, your appearances on other shows. And I would guess that in your own situation, perhaps your speaker sheet could evolve over time. And to be a little bit of a critic here, I don't like that. I think this is one page, but I don't like how we don't really have, I guess we have his contact details, but if it were me, I would do this. I would have phone number, I would have website, I would have email, in addition to the various social followings. And some podcasts want to know the follower count on your channels because, again, what's in it for me? Why should you be on my show? Because I'll promote it to my audience of 100,000 people. And so I get an email like this as a podcast host, and in just a few seconds, I'm like, who is this? What does he have? Okay, I'll take him. And all I do really need is a bio. But if I get a bio and no, you didn't go to the trouble of making a speaker sheet, I'm not that impressed. I still might take you. But if you have a speaker sheet, I'm a little more impressed. And then if you tell me that you were on some of these shows, like I think we saw a moment ago, how Kevin was on like Jocko Willink and Gino Wickman and these really impressive podcasts. Here we go. Yep. Gino Wickman, even Joe Valley was as well. And you can leverage your past podcast appearances for future podcast appearances, and you regularly update your bio, your speaker sheet, you put it in there. And that's the format. Let's build a speaker sheet because at the moment, there's 3 people who are like almost ready to go, but they're like, hey, I need a speaker sheet. So maybe let's see who we have time for. And the first person that comes to mind is Miss Tiffany Alexander. So here's our plan for Tiffany. Here is we're going to, I open up LinkedIn and there's Mark Savant right there, right? So he posts regularly, you should too. So here's Tiffany Alexander. By coincidence, we lived nearby, and I'll be doing this is I'll say in a new Chat GPT window, and I also had her on my podcast. So we need to fire up this tool called Descript. We'll start a new video project, and then we'll upload a file because I had her on my podcast, and we'll upload the recording with Tiffany. If I can, so there's her recording. So while that is cranking away and processing, we will look up where she's been on, oops, not on Amazon, on YouTube. Maybe if she has a book, we'd look that up as well. But I believe that she's been on a few other podcasts, and any podcast that's worth its salt also posts on YouTube. And we need to find the right one. So here's Aspen Sage. So she has a common name, but we search the company name as well. 90 seconds. We're looking for 20 or 30 minute. Oh, and there's her on my show. She has a lot of short videos. Here we go. Tiffany Alex, 51 minutes. Jackpot. Okay, so we have this. And real estate, career in real estate. We're just looking for, all right, so maybe she hasn't been on as many podcasts as we want. Unveiling Journeys with Tiffany Alexander. Did she finally put out her podcast? I've been telling her to do that. Let's see. So does she have any content of her own? Just the short videos 9 years ago. That's all right. And then let's also look at, so we have some raw materials so far, right? We have, she's on my show. She's on this other podcast, and I'll also get the process rolling. And I'm just doing this rough and raw, and we'll do some of these different things. She's on this other podcast here, and we will download this YouTube video, and we'll put that into Descript as well. So that is downloading the next couple of seconds. And so while my show is going, we'll open up a new Descript window here. New project, audio project this time. Here we'll upload this Lead with Leanne podcast. So my show's still transcribing. That's all right. And so I guess let's start with the bottom and work our way up. Okay, so we'll copy this speaker sheet template, and we'll say Tiffany Sanders speaker sheet. Alexander. Okay. Let's place it at the root level of my drive. Let's put it in some temporary folder. How's that? Okay. And we'll use ChatGPT for a lot of this, right? We'll say, I need your help creating a speaker sheet for Tiffany Alexander. Alexander, here is what we know about her. So there's her link. And we'll give ChatGPT a little bit, and we'll see what it builds for us over time, right? So here's her great bio here, and she's got some links and all that. Close out some of these other windows that we don't need. So focusing on, here's her LinkedIn bio. And sometimes I look at a person's recent LinkedIn. Oh, here we go. We don't want the whole resume. We want the recent stuff. So we do a little Shift Enter to fit it all in. And then we'll look at her recent posts. Sometimes people make blog posts and things like that, which is helpful. Dream of going to space. Okay, so she posts some cool, fun stuff, but I'm not sure what we can use for the bio. And that's transcribing. That's almost done transcribing. So we'll start, and we'll see what ChatGPT gives us, and then we'll morph that into something in a moment. And then, so we need like a headline, which I think we won't have until we get those 2 podcasts imported, but we do want to load this up with her links. So we go here, and here's, I'm careful not to leave the John Crutchfield and Aspen Sage Funds, Tiffany Alexander. So we're looking for some other. So here's your LinkedIn, and there's your YouTube or Instagram. And contact info here. Put the phone number and email, because I like being old school in that way and having email and phone number. I think if someone wants to contact you, you can be bothered to call them back, answer a text if they want to pay you to be on a podcast, or they want to offer you a speaking gig. Let's paste phone number and email address and website. So email. And so we don't have a full bio on maybe there's something on the About Us page. Here we go. And I think we want to use that also. So Tiffany Sanders bio. And we'll also use this. And what did ChatGPT give us? So they gave us a cool bio, fund owner, real estate note investor. Hey, that's really good. An about page. We might want to shorten this some. And we do want to change some of this. Wow, website, YouTube, Aspen State. It did the work for us, more or less. And also incorporate this bio into your work. Give me 10 possible talking points for Tiffany when she appears on podcasts or speaks on stages. Also give me 10 possible questions a podcast host might ask. This bio, while we stall for time there, we'll say Aspen Sage Investment Funds, YouTube, Aspen Sage, and websites. I know we have that. Front page of the website. And we're also keeping what I call naked links in here, where on a normal web page, we'd say Aspen Fund website, but we don't know if someone is viewing this on their phone, on their computer, if they're, say, printing it out. We try to think of like the possible ways they might use this. And does she have there's a Threads as well. That's good. Threads. As many as possible. Instagram, Thread. And then she has a Facebook. We'll see if she has a TikTok. Whatever. We'll find her. There's Mr. Ray Edwards, a cool guy. Speaking of someone who's on many platforms. So here's Tiffany Alexander. We're not friends, so that's not. Oh. Facebook. Oh, we need to find her Twitter also. Sage. Or we'll search real estate. Real estate. If we don't have a platform, that's okay. So we'll assume we can't easily find it. Try Twitter or X. Okay. Search Chip Xander Save. No such luck there. One last real estate. Right, no such luck. There's the YouTube. I'm getting a little greedy here. I want to also use this explanation of what the Aspen Sage Fund is. Here's me, Robert Plank. And the reason I wanted to use Descripts for this is to separate my words and her words, and then with this other Leanne person, also separate what Tiffany said and what that host said. That way we're not using the host's words, we're just using her words. Set the speakers there. Still transcribing. And as we said, we'll do one last little greedy thing. We'll also import and transcribe the explanation of the Aspen Sage Fund. All right, so our transcripts are done. So let's export the Aspen Sage Fund overview specifically. Sure it's saved. Okay. Then one, and here's Sander. Okay. Export that transcript. Okay, and then, whoops, delabel my cell. So me, here is Sander. Keep on spelling it wrong. Okay. And then we'll export that transcript as well. And then we'll check it on ChatGPT because we built the speaker sheet first without supplying these two transcripts, but I'm curious to see what it comes up with. And then with all this extra material, I'm also curious about what keywords it recommends that we target as far as like other podcasts to appear on, or what kind of just content to create. How do you balance being a wife, mother, business owner? Advice to someone new, success story, Aspen, Sage Investments. Okay, and I like to ask for 10 questions and narrow it down to the top 5. And so let me just supply the rest of the goods here, right? So this is information specifically about Aspen Sage Funds. And then we'll open Leanne and we'll open my podcast. And so here, now this might be too long, but then we'll tell it to reduce a little bit. And right now it's offer centric, where the offer, that's what will be explained near the end of the podcast interview. This is more like selling Tiffany to the podcast host as an exciting guest. All right. So we'll wait for this to finish. And I already like these better questions better, right? Economic downturns. And as we build this, we might see some questions flash by that were like, hey, that sort of didn't make the cut, but that's a good maybe approach as far as in the introductory email to the podcast host. So now let's say next, apply what Tiffany said in for podcast guest appearance. Here's the transcript. Be sure to only use Tiffany's information and not Leanne's. Okay. We'll see what that creates. And And just based on what's flashing past us, I like how it specifically asks about things like fail fast, fail cheap to her. And then let's do the one last step and oh no, did I close it? I think I did. Open it back up. And then next, by what Tiffany said in this podcast, be sure to only use Tiffany Alexander's speech from transcript. Thanks. Okay, so I think we do want to compress Aspen Sage, want to compress 3 paragraphs down to 2, and then we want to get our just 5 talking points and 5 interview questions. We'll merge this back into the Google document with her contact details, and we'll call it a good start to a speaker sheet, which she can, of course, adjust based on what she thinks, what her team thinks. When she appears on more podcasts, creates her own podcast, all of that will further take shape. So we'll say, so condense the abouts, the 3-paragraph section down to 2 shorter paragraphs. It's condensed the Aspen Sage information to just 1 paragraph. And then, so talking points. Only key. So which are the 5 we like the best? We could probably tell ChatGPT, keep the top 5 and merge the other ones. Maybe let's see what that gives us, right? Only keep 5 out of 10. Eliminate the weakest for combined talking points. That makes sense. And then as far as the podcast questions, only keep real estate questions. See what that gives us. Let ChatGPT do the work for us for a change. I like what it gives us. Transitioning from landlord to lender. No more tenants. Oh, these kind of could be almost the same. So maybe we'll say combine 2 and 4. And then, I do like the questions. How about this? Let's try this. Let's say talking points, combine 2 and 4. And place one of these questions for choice, a better one. And then podcast questions. Words. Place one of these questions with whichever one you consider the weakest with a beginner question, or replace the second weakest question with an advanced. How's that? Okay, failing fast, failing cheap. And I think I maybe want to reorder these and then redo the questions. So reorder the talking points in a logical structure that makes sense. Podcast interview, and then reorder the podcast questions. Did they even do that? All right, so now we'll just go back here and we'll take the about section. Here we go. Ooh, and then we also need to figure out powerful headline, which she has on LinkedIn, but I'm curious to see what ChatGPT gives us. might have to further condense. And then talking points. Oops. Go to the reword. That's right. Then podcast interview questions. Based on everything you know, Tiffany, give me exciting headline containing few relevant keywords and key phrases to fully sell her as a podcast guest. 3 alternatives, drastically different alternatives for this. Financial freedom, become the bank. So create headline Tiffany using these ideas, right? Say, landlord to note investor, promissory note investor, financial freedom. I like the low risk, high return investment. Come the bank. Maybe that might not, but let's see. And I like real estate without the headaches. All right, so we'll do that. We'll say achieve financial freedom, low risk, high coming the bank. So now we really need to condense some of this some more. So we'll see. And then this by about 20%. And maybe we can do like a 2 columns on the bullet points. Oh no, that not work. Call. No. This out. Did this by 20%. Okay. Sure. I really like to have it fit on one line. 3 lines down to go. All right, then we'll reduce heading size. Almost there. We have just TikTok, Twitter. Yes. Okay. So now that fits. And then one last little finishing touch I like to do is link to her LinkedIn and a link to her company website, Aspen Sage Investment Funds, and then bold a few things for easy readability, but now we are losing our space. Well, we're officially off ChatGPT because we've changed too much, but we can see what's real estate. Note investing, flipping houses, beginner take best experience. a word scouting word. So we can easily see, okay, what are her keywords? And then that gives us a good start. And speaking of, so what we'll do is we'll share this with Tiffany. We'll do a little download PDF. And when I follow up with people, I like to link to like a web page, Google document, dump to a PDF. If I'm following up over the course of many months, just given the same information, but in different ways. And I'll say, tell me what long tail keywords Tiffany Alexander should be targeting. Like, what sorts of YouTube videos should she create? And what podcast keywords should she search for to appear on? Low risk, high return. Maybe we'll give her this list as well, right? Here's keywords, YouTube videos. And then what you would do at this point is then search these keywords, right? Search for self-directed IRA, real estate investing, mortgage liens, promissory notes, real estate for passive income. You search these, you find not just the podcast, but what specific episode that is, what specific guest it is. And then you do more searches, basically stalking that guest and find out on them on YouTube, find out the podcast that they appear on. So you search on Apple Podcasts, Google, YouTube, listen notes, even search LinkedIn posts and just find the shows that they are on and then market yourself in your own way. And you send lots of messages like this is, I would like to be on your show. Here's what I do. And then you link or attach the one sheet in some kind of way and you make yourself accessible. You message on LinkedIn, maybe chat on the phone. And that is how we make a speaker sheet. We look at what you have on LinkedIn. We scrape some YouTube videos, some podcast appearances. We say bio, talking point, questions, contact information. If we had more space, we would list accomplishments, especially in real estate. You mentioned about like dollar figures, investment amount, how much money that you've helped people make. And then if you get even further along your path, what amazing podcasts have you appeared on, especially like the big name shows? What kind of awards have you won? Who recommends you? And you just build up your one sheet, your speaker sheet, your resume to appear on podcasts. I'm Robert Plank from dfypodcast.com. Hope that helps you personally with your own podcasting and one sheet adventures. Talk to you very soon. Take control of your podcasting future. Start crafting your speaker sheet today and watch as it opens the doors to bigger and better podcast opportunities more frequently and easily. Start building your influence now. Remember, the more podcasts you appear on, the more opportunities you create for your brand, your message, and your future. Don't let another opportunity slip away. Start becoming the go-to expert in your field by getting on more podcasts. Ready to build your speaker sheet and grow your reach? Let's get started.